Hey, what's up, guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. The CISA bill, Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act, is having its final vote today, and a lot of people are against this bill. And what this bill does is it allows corporations to share private information with the government without any kind of penalties or, concerns about legal ramifications. And so the way it's being pitched is that it's something that's going to help slow down or prevent cyber attacks and other hacking problems that companies face. But it's interesting because big companies like Amazon and Dell, eBay, Facebook, well, Facebook's not entirely clear. I've seen both reports, one saying they're neutral, others saying that they're against it. But even Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, and others are, according to some, against this bill. And even cybersecurity company Symantec refuses to support the bill. And so it's pretty interesting that this is another one of those attempts, it looks like, by the government to push for a surveillance bill that's going to give the FBI and other federal agencies tools to spy on us even more. And in fact, the U.S. Senator Ron Wyden called this a surveillance bill in disguise. And there's tons you can read about it. There's a Reddit thread. There's Aljazeera reported on this, and TechDirt reported on it. And, Computer World says Senate to battle Tuesday on controversial CISA cybersecurity bill. The Electronic Frontier Foundation says that the EFF opposes CISA as final vote approaches, and they explain why they're not going to support this bill. And there's a lot of tech companies that are against it, and it makes sense that they're against it because it would compromise the at least public perception that they have the best interest of the citizens in mind by keeping their information private. But I'm not sure exactly what the solution is because I can kind of see both sides of it. On one hand, open source software, more investment in things like that makes sense at a certain level. On the other hand, more investment or more focus on encryption, which obviously there's a lot of that going on already, but, some sort of way for each individual to be able to find ways to encrypt their data. That's something to think about. But also these companies, for example, internet companies that, have a huge list of what websites everybody's been visiting or whatever, that sort of thing can be basically expired or deleted after a certain time. But that brings up another problem because if there are things like, child pornography rings or something like that, and, there needs to be some sort of information gathered, if the data is gone, it's gone, and these criminals get by. So I kind of get the quandary here that people are in. But at the same time, it's kind of like the terrorist thing, right? Are we going to completely relinquish our privacy and our rights to privacy in this space called the internet so that the government has authority and power to go after these criminals? And that's a question we all have to answer. But for the most part, I think, these tech companies, and I think most people will say, no, we're not going to give up our privacy. There's got to be a better way to go after these criminals. There should be a communal effort, number one, to go after these criminals, not so much dependent on the government. And, so perhaps the responsibility falls upon these companies that have that data to recognize if there are crimes happening, to report that from within and not so much make it the responsibility of the government and, give them all the power and authority to just come in and raid everything and give them the capacity to not just look for the criminals, but have the ability to spy and take data from everybody that is on the internet. So I think there's a little bit of responsibility that needs to be taken by the corporations as well, because otherwise the solution is government oversight. And that's what the government wants. They just want to provide oversight, and give them power and authority to do whatever they want to create this surveillance state, even more so, again, to make it legal for them to spy on us. Not that they haven't already. I think they have already. Obviously, they have all the information they want. They have access to it, at least in some way. And also, something that's not discussed in this space about this topic is artificial intelligence in the sentient sort of sense. And if and when, the alleged artificial intelligence is born, it's going to be probably on the internet, right? I mean, the Age of Ultron and, the Avengers sort of, it's a similar idea. You have transcendence, once Will Castor, the character played by Johnny Depp, was uploaded onto a machine, he immediately went to the internet, right? So, there's that precedence of like, okay, the internet might be a place where this artificial intelligence via the technological singularity will be born. Now, if that's the case, then that entity will become almost omniscient because he will have the ability to just go anywhere on the internet and gather any kind of data. And that's kind of a thing that's sort of scary too. But again, I always go back to this prophetic sense that eventually us Christians, at least for me, I know that there's going to be a day when I have to unplug from the internet. And I think that's going to happen to the church at large. And we're just going to have to plug into our own communities and, be a beacon of light and hope to people around us, not just on the internet, because remember, a lot of these connections on the internet are somewhat artificial. They're not real, but they're somewhat artificial because you're not there sitting with them, So I urge you guys to sort of pray upon this and think about it. And because it does affect all of us, especially if you're watching this, that means you're on the internet. That means you have access to it. And, messages like this, channels like this, other truthers, etc., will probably start to get shut down or censored or compromised in some way. So I think it's our responsibility to keep an eye on stuff like this because it's slowly starting to crack down and eventually it's going to go away. So that's all I have to say about this. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comment section. God bless.